Thank you all for being here tonight. We're so happy to have you here. And before we begin, I want to pass the mic to NoMAA's stroll coordinator, Martin Collins, who, as always, has a special statement to share with us tonight. Martin.
Thank you, Neria. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Thursdays with NoMAA, powered tonight by Pop and Pour, Dykeman's coolest wine bar, located at 200 Dykeman Street between Broadway and Vermilion Avenue, with an eclectic new American menu featuring Latin-inspired bites, tastefully paired with a diverse selection of wine, cocktails, and craft beers. Pop and Pour's menu includes elements of fine dining while staying true to the restaurant's casual and comfortable environment. Pop and Pour is open Monday to Friday, 4 to midnight, Saturday and Sunday for brunch starting at 11 a.m. You can follow them on Instagram and Facebook and check out their website, poppournyc.com. Our thanks to Pop and Pour for powering Thursdays with NoMAA and Tony Lopez. Neria?
Neria.
Didn't follow instructions. I've been unmuted. Thank you. Thanks, Martin. And we are so happy to promote Pop and Pour this evening. Thursday to everyone. Tonight, my name is Neria Leyva Gutierrez, and I am the Executive Director of Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance. Before we begin, I would like to give special thanks to Charter Spectrum, who has generously funded this program, and we remain grateful to them. Here we are again, after another really big, uncertain, and I hesitate to say the overused, unprecedented, and nail-biting week. But it has certainly been both of those things. And it's been distracting, depressing, hopeful. In short, it is still very much 2020. But it is also Thursday night, and this means Thursdays with NoMAA, and for that, I am so grateful. Thank you all for being here again with us tonight and for always giving us so many reasons to look forward to these events. I am delighted to be here to present our evening's main event. A longtime supporter of NoMAA and born, raised, and a resident of Washington Heights, Tony Lopez is a local entrepreneur. Perhaps you are all familiar with one of his 3 UPS stores. A graduate of Hunter College with a degree in computer science, Tony's background includes a decades-long stint at Anderson Consulting, now known as Accenture. And in 2003, he left this corporate world and began building his business. A tireless venture indeed that has led to success and most importantly, inspired him to give back to his community. Whether serving for 5 years on Community Board 12, where he would eventually serve as treasurer and the chair of the Economic Development Committee, or sponsoring local events and assisting in building community-based nonprofit organizations, Tony has always valued the importance of community. His support of local organizations like Shakespeare in the Park, Inwood Little League, Dykeman Baseball, Inwood Artworks, Uplift, and NoMAA is a testament to his integral role in the cultural and business life of Upper Manhattan. In addition to his clear success in the business world, Tony is also a photographer, and that, of course, is why he is here with us tonight. Tony first discovered photography in high school and was drawn to it until he realized that not being able to afford to buy and develop film posed some difficulty and was likely maybe not the most practical of career paths, hence his foray into computer science and business. But the spark was reignited in 2012 when Tony developed an enthusiasm for travel. This is when photography once again entered his life, and this time in a significant and meaningful way. To date, Tony has traveled through 5 continents and visited over a dozen countries, all with his lens in tow. Over the last years, his work has explored different genres of photography and led to the creation of stock photography for Adobe Stock. Through his travels and in his daily life, he has built up a body of work that includes aerial shots, product images, family portraits, events, landscapes, and headshots. Indeed, it seems as nothing is off the table for Tony. His work is continually sought after. He has been commissioned to photograph community events, birthday parties, wedding receptions, and headshots. And as recognition of his range and talent, one of his photographs, which I'm sure we will see again tonight, was selected as a National Geographic Picture of the Week during a worldwide competition. Tony maintains that he will always be a student of photography. And it is that desire to discover and learn that makes his work so compelling and which serves as the basis of our discussion tonight. I happily turn the mic over to Tony, who is here to talk to us about his fascinating background, the intersection between his two lives, and the amazing experiences he's had that have informed his beautiful work. Tony.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, we're good. So thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We got a lot on the agenda, so I think I want to take this time to start the video.
I think we're missing the audio. Michelle, do we know what's going on? Oh, she's on it. Oh, I think that maybe the AirPods, Tony. There we go.
From as far back as I can remember, I've always been interested in photography. Growing up, we rarely shot, but when we did, I always took interest in being the photographer. In those days, we used a 110 film camera. There were no settings to make, no focus to adjust, just point and shoot. It produced a decent snapshot. My shots were bad. Nothing I shot stood out, and if it did, it's because it was terrible. Later, I remember upgrading to a Polaroid camera. This was the first instant camera on the market, and it printed a picture that developed in minutes. This gave me the incredible opportunity to see my bad shots quicker. As bad as I was, for some strange reason, I was fascinated by photography. In high school, I decided I wanted to save all my money to buy an SLR, and so I did. It was a Canon AE1 program. I loved all the features, but I stuck mostly to auto mode. Manual mode just seemed a little too confusing for me. After shooting about a dozen rolls of film, I dropped the hobby. It was just too expensive to buy and develop film, and honestly, my pictures were nothing to write home about. Almost a decade later, while training at work at an IT consulting firm, I purchased a film point-and-shoot camera. Suddenly, I was the class photographer, and over the next few years, my passion for photography was rekindled. Then I decided to open my own business just off of Dyckman Street in Inwood. For years, I was too busy to shoot. Eventually, as things came together at the store, I found more time to explore photography. That's when I purchased my first digital camera, a Nikon D200. I then began attending and shooting events everywhere in the neighborhood. I watched hours of YouTube videos on photography. I took online classes. I shot family and friends. I bartered. Gradually, my pictures improved. Join me while we explore some of my favorite pictures and how I made them. This picture is a product of the coronavirus quarantine. I was tired of watching Netflix. I was feeling creative and decided, okay, I'm going to dedicate an afternoon to putting something together. I had no clue what I was going to do, so I went into my kitchen and eventually found this glass, found those acrylic odd-shaped ice cubes, and ended up putting this together. It was interesting because the glass has a bubble in the bottom. I didn't do that. That was actually already there. And I saw the little sticker that I had there from Krosno, I guess it's pronounced. And I went and started building the shot. Took a picture of the glass by itself. It didn't really look good. Threw the ice in there. I needed something else. And so I added a background light. That's an acrylic top that I put under the glass. I got 2 side lights and 1 on the top. At the end, there's a total of 4 lights here. This came from nowhere. It was, what do I find and how do I take this picture? So people seem to like it. I kind of like it myself, and it's the first time I've done a product shot like this, so it was exciting, and I was able to do something other than watch Netflix and Hulu during that time. This picture is of a friend of mine. His name is Joel. We grew up in the same neighborhood, and actually my grandmother used to babysit him way back. And we had a conversation, and we decided that I was going to try and shoot him. Now, I had never done any kind of physique shots before, so I was a bit nervous. And so we began shooting. I have a bunch of pictures of him. This is probably one of my favorites. The setup was pretty much a strip light on the left, a strip light on the right, and something, it was actually a beauty dish in front. And we just took a bunch of pictures, and I had a good time. This was a lot of fun. I have him also posing as a boxer. I have him with a hoodie jacket on, and we just had a lot of fun. It was a great session. It's the only one of its kind. I haven't shot anybody prior to that or afterwards, but it's one of the genres that I may be interested in pursuing and looking a little bit more into. This was taken in Morocco at the very edge of the Sahara Desert. I was actually sitting on a camel when I took this picture. We were waiting to be brought to a camp that we were going to spend the night in and actually sleep in the desert. It was a lot of fun. I brought my camera out. It got really windy shortly after I took this picture, and the sand was everywhere. So I was very fortunate to get this moment prior to that. And this guy is just returning the camels for the previous group that had gone out there and actually was still out there. They were spending the night as well, and they were taking us out in little groups. So it was a lot of fun. This is one of my favorite pictures. It was actually a bit scary. I'm on a helicopter. It's a photography tour helicopter. There are no doors. I'm actually, at this point, my legs are outside the plane. We're on the northern side of Central Park. Funny fact, the person sitting in front of me is Mike Fiddleson. We did this tour together. And we took a bunch of pictures of the city. I have a whole bunch, but this one is my favorite because of the contrast between the city and the park. It was a great day. It was partly cloudy, and it was just a lot of fun to take this picture. I also submitted this picture to National Geographic. They had a contest, I believe it was in 2018. But anyway, so they had different categories, and one of the categories was aerials. They also had nature photography and other stuff. This picture got picked by National Geographic as the photo of the day. I didn't win the contest. There were incredible aerial pictures, some done by drones, some done on planes and helicopters. But for that day, they picked this picture as their aerial photo of the day. So I was very excited about that. I also have sold this picture online and in stock photography. It's probably the best-selling picture that I have on Adobe stock. And I did get I had somebody reach out to me and request a print, and we were able to do that on some metallic material. So that was kind of fun. It was the first print I've ever sold. So that's this picture.
That was beautiful. What a beautiful video. As I'm watching it, you talk about yourself as a student of photography, and sort of two things struck me. One is I think it's that idea and that desire to continually be a student that has informed your range. Your range is extraordinary, and I think that you carry that spirit with you, and it really does show up, right? I mean, you're constantly in the state of sort of taking in the world and discovering the possibilities, and sort of using your lens. I love your ideas of the mistakes that you made. That notion of terrible pictures. I felt, as you were talking about you being a student, I spent so many years as a professor, and all I could think about was that's the kind of video that students should be watching. Everything that you said, your process, your failures, those insights, and how you got to where you are, really was really inspirational and wonderful. And I know that there are so many people here tonight, and I know people have questions for you. So I want to turn the mic over to them, and to do that, and to help us moderate the discussion, we have Joanna Castro with us, who is going to take on the questions. She is a special consultant, or a consultant for special. She's also a special consultant, but she's a consultant for special projects at NoMAA. Joanna.
Thank you, Nidia. Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. Lots of great comments. Please feel free to type in your questions in English or in Spanish. one long-standing NoMAA friend and one of the founding board members of NoMAA, Siad Ramadan, has a funny question. Siad, are you with us? Siad?
Hmm.
If not, we'll go to Cheryl.
Hmm.
Cheryl, are you with us?
Yes, I'm. Oh, I can't. Hi.
Hello, Cheryl.
Hey,
Yeah,
Cheryl.
hi, Tony. Those were such beautiful photographs. You are quite an artist. And I'm really appreciating learning this about you. I guess my question was, how do you keep learning, and do you have any role models? Who inspires you?
Okay, thanks for the question. Yes, I do. Um, the way I continue learning is, it's amazing because nowadays it's so easy to learn anything. You go onto YouTube, and you can pretty much learn anything you want. Earlier today, I was online, and I searched electoral college and try to understand. With all the election anxiety going on, I try to understand what could possibly go wrong from this point on. And I've learned about every state having their electoral college. I mean, their number of votes, and how things can possibly go wrong with unfaithful electoral members. So, with photography, I started looking at YouTube and picking up some pointers and then practicing them. I still do that to this day. That's why I consider myself a student of photography. Um, I got a lot to learn. Every time I see my pictures, every picture you saw today, I see things wrong with them. I see things that I could do better. And so I continue doing that to this day. I also subscribe to some online photography classes. I do that less now because I have a little bit more experience. But in the end, anything you want to learn, you can find online. And I find a way to do that. So um, that's how I continue learning. Sometimes I network with other people who shoot and try to get ideas through them. But it's trial and error and continue to perfect the craft.
Thank you, Cheryl. So I think Siad wants to speak. Hopefully we can unmute him. Siad, are you with us? There
Yes,
we
I am.
go. Hi, Siad.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good to
Well,
see you.
yeah, it's good to see you guys. Um, yeah, Tony and I had actually the opportunity to travel to the Caribbean, and I experienced his photography, like watching him take these really special photographs was pretty quite amazing. And I saw him mastering, starting to master the craft, years ago. And I was very impressed. And I told him that he should actually pursue this because he's got a really tremendous hobby that he's excelling in. And here we are. But he's a good old friend of mine, a community board colleague and basketball player that we played together. And I'm really proud of the fact that NoMAA is doing these tremendous, salons on Thursday nights and really promoting the artists of the community. And I just wanted to congratulate Tony on a tremendous artwork. I really love the angles that he takes, everything from the Eiffel Tower to the Central Park, the aerial Miami Beach, and all the other stuff. He really has a good eye and great perspective on his photography, and I've seen it firsthand. So I just want to compliment him and tell him to keep it up.
Thank you, Siad.
Um,
Any specific question?
A specific question, yeah. You
Yeah.
showed a lot of pictures, but at the end there was this one with this guy holding a microphone, and the people that I know, this girl that I was right behind me said, how can I get a picture of that one there? So are you selling that photograph?
Ziad, everything is for sale. Real quick, Ziad was my mentor in the community board. Him and Martin Collins kind of took me under their wing. Ziad was the chair of the Economic Development Committee, and I learned a lot from him. We did go on vacation together sometime, and I appreciate the comments. And again, still learning. Yeah, that picture is for sale in case. But basically, Ziad, I really appreciate the comments and the compliments, and thank you for all your mentorship.
Thanks, Siad. Now we have a question by someone named Ray, who I believe Tony knows. Ray, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. So I noticed in your video, thank you very much for showing us your journey through your experience on your hobby. So I know there's certain things you can't handle and you could handle. So you had to sum it up in what you could handle. So my question to you is, did you not put a picture of your little brother and your favorite sister-in-law because you couldn't handle it and the crowd wasn't ready for it? I'm just trying to understand why was not that the case.
So this is my brother. We kind of sound the same. Some people say we do sound the same. Yeah, so I didn't get a picture of you guys. That's when a lot of the pictures that were up there in that video, just so everybody knows, were the pictures that I started taking in Inwood and Washington Heights when I first started taking photography seriously. And there were a lot of political events there. And unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of pictures of my brother and my sister-in-law, but I definitely enjoy hanging out with them. So hopefully, the other stuff that you mentioned as far as handling, yes, every day I'm able to handle more and more different types of photography. Thanks for the question.
Oh, Tony, if I can jump in, I'm curious about the sequence and just the color scheme of the photos behind you. Would you talk maybe a little bit about these images and perhaps if you have a favorite one, or maybe talk also about the process of how you shot one or two?
Sure. So I have 7 pictures behind me. On this one right here, I don't know if it's your left or it's on my left, but this one over here is the Eiffel Tower. That one was taken on my second trip to Paris. I was walking, I actually didn't intend to take that picture, but when I looked up, that's the picture right there. When I looked up, I saw that picture and I said, wow, maybe I can make something out of this. And of course, I look at this picture. Some people tell me they love it. Some people tell me it's okay. For me, I feel like I could have done better. I could have maybe done the color tone a little bit differently. And the great thing about digital photography is that the picture is never really finished, right? I can take this original picture, the raw format, and I can change the color tone on it. I can recrop it. I can do a lot of things with this. Again, being a student of the craft, I feel like it's not totally done yet, but that's the one on the top left. The one on the far right, my right over here, is a picture of a small business owner in France. I think the town was called Gourds. We were walking around. I was on vacation with my girlfriend at the time, and I saw this guy out there doing his paperwork, and I thought, oh my God, this is a great opportunity to take this picture. And eventually just got this one shot, and I love the way it came out. This one right behind me is my nephew. It's special to me, not only because it's my nephew, but because it was the first portrait I ever took with my studio lights. I just set them up, and at the end, it came out. A lot of pictures came out wrong. I gradually made some adjustments, and that picture came out. Again, I'd probably do it differently now, but it was a decent picture, so I had to print it.
The lighting on the one right underneath the Eiffel Tower is pretty interesting. Can you tell us a
This
bit
one
about?
over here?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, so that one was taken in Morocco, in Casablanca. Um, I was walking around. It was the last city we had visited, and I knew I needed to get something good over there. There's a lot of color over there. You go to Fez, it's all a lot of blue and rich in colors. So I saw this one thing, and at the end, probably took 25 or 30 pictures of it. And this is my favorite. It's actually just kind of a banister that's holding up a rope. And I thought there was something interesting about it. I mean, it's just not your regular banister that you would see here in the States. It's pretty fancy. So I took a picture of it, and that's kind of what I came up with.
So I'm thinking, if I may jump in again, I'd love to ask questions. So you talked about the process. Can you talk about the paper and the printing, and how involved are you with that kind of second part of the photograph?
So that's a great question. So there are many parts to making a shot. There's the composition, there's the exposure. In the end, once you're done with that, there's the post-processing. The post-processing nowadays is very different than it was in the past. Ansel Adam used to go to the Lightroom and do this thing called burning and dodging. And all that is lightening and darkening. What we do now, we use programs like Lightroom, and we manipulate the picture afterwards. So any picture that you see on a magazine, on a website, or anything like that, those pictures are edited and they're post-processed. So the picture that's on the screen right now, I can show you. It's 2 strip banks. This is a picture probably taken with my phone. And in the end, this is just an ordinary snapshot. It's a picture that basically shows my setup. There's a white background, 2 strip banks with grids on them, and there's actually a beauty dish in front of him. If you go to the final picture, I'm not sure if you have that there, you probably should, you'll see the final product. And it's not anything like that. As far as the process on every picture that's behind me, while you're bringing up that picture of the gentleman, Joel is his name, you'll see every single picture behind me was post-processed. It was sharpened for print. It was the vibrance and the saturation was brought up. You can't just take a picture nowadays. I mean, you can take a picture and see it on your screen, and even the pictures that you take on your cell phone, they're already processed. Your cell phone takes the picture and processes it, and you can make it vibrant and all kinds of filters and so forth. There are no pictures that are taken raw, straight from the camera, and then posted or printed. And so every single picture here went through that process.
Interesting. Now we have a question from Angela Fernandez, a longtime community member. Angela, are you with us? I think I hear something. Angela? So while we wait to connect with her, we have another question from Liz Ritter. Angela, we can't hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
There we go. So we have Liz. Liz, take it
Great.
away.
Hey, so you keep on, hey Kilo, love these pictures. I have 2 questions. One is, talk to us a little bit about the saturation on that incredible aerial photograph of Central Park and New York City. And the other is, what is a beauty dish? That's you mentioned that piece of equipment, and I don't know what that is.
Okay. Hey, Riza. Thanks for the
Hey.
question. So the beauty dish, I'll start with that. Beauty dish is usually a 24-inch piece of, it could be metal or it could be all kinds of material. It's perfectly round and has the flash, whether it's a studio flash or a kind of one of those smaller flashes in the middle, and it balances the light and gives you some soft fall off. They use it a lot for beauty shots, and that's why they call it a beauty dish. That's the one I used in that picture with that gentleman who was posing, doing the physique shot. It just gives you a soft fall off, and it's very, very popular in fashion and headshots. As far as the saturation on my work, saturation is always, there you go. That's the beauty dish. And you can do a lot of things with the beauty dish. If you look at the, you can put a soft front on it. You can leave it wide open. It has different effects, and it's used a lot for headshots. As far as the saturation for the picture on my left here, I probably boosted it up a bit to get those colors. Now, the problem with saturation is if you raise it too much, skin tone looks horrible. It looks very orangey. And so
Also like Donald Trump. Oh wait.
I was just gonna say that. If you want to be the president, yeah, you'd love saturation. But at the end of the day, saturation brings up all the colors, whereas vibrance brings up colors that are not associated with skin tone. And I know there's a wide range of skin tone, but basically you want to boost, when you're doing a headshot, you want to boost the vibrance. When you're doing anything else, you can just boost up the saturation, and that treats all colors equally.
Thank you.
Sure.
Liz, for that techie question. We like that mix of different kinds of questions. We're going to try again to connect with Angela. So I think she needed to unmute herself, or Michelle, do you need to unmute her? If you could let us know.
Angela's unmuted right now.
Okay, Angela, are you with us? Okay. While we wait for her, we have a question from longstanding NoMAA friend, Mike Fiddleston, also fellow photographer. Mike, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey there. How's everyone doing?
Good, Mike.
Good to see y'all. Tony, great work as always. And I had no idea what the difference between vibrancy and saturation was. So thanks for that little tip. Maybe it'll improve my photography. But the question I have is, Tony, and I don't want to, if you don't want to talk about it, sure, but can you talk a little bit about the 50 project you've been working on? Because I think that's an absolute knockout, and it's kind of a lifetime achievement award in some ways.
Hey, Mike, nice to hear from you again. And I had a great time with you at that helicopter tour. Great question.
Glad we survived.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because there was a major accident shortly after our trip, and they changed their whole protocol after that. So for those of you who don't know, we got on a helicopter ride. That's where I took the Central Park picture, but also where I took the GW Bridge picture and the Empire State Building picture, which is actually behind me right now. It's an open door trip. That's Mike in the front. Oh no, that's not Mike. So that's just a generic picture. But I was sitting in the back, legs out. Mike was in the front seat. We went and took a bunch of pictures of New York City. It was 30 minutes. And I don't know, a few weeks after, maybe a month or so, or a month or two, after our trip, there was that big helicopter accident. And it was a photography tour, just like the one we got on. And they changed the protocols after that. They gave you a blade to cut the seatbelts because it's pretty much a harness. And it's a 6-way harness where you can't get off of that, and it's tied to your back so that you can lean out of the helicopter and take pictures. Had our helicopter gone down, thank God it didn't, but had it gone down, we wouldn't have been able to get off of that harness. And so I remember calling Mike after that accident that happened a few weeks after our tour. And Mike said, wow, we got lucky because those people weren't able to, you know, cut it out and, you know, cut out that thing. Now they give you a blade where you can cut off the things in case of any accident. Anyway, to answer your question, Mike, Mike is talking about my 50 states by 50, which has passed for me. I've gotten 42 states. And basically my goal was to visit every state by the time I turned 50. I wish I had been into photography in the early stages of that, but I wasn't. So I would have loved to have a picture in every state. But at that point I hadn't done it. Anyway, I got as far as 42 states. COVID hit. I almost did a road trip across the Midwest states that didn't end up happening. I'm at 42, I'm 51. I'm still gonna do it. The good news is that the next 8 states, I'll make sure I get a lot of pictures of, and hopefully I'll have some really good pictures. Mike and I talk about it all the time. We're always talking about, he's like, what state are you up to? What state are you up to? And I'm like, 42, COVID, 42. So hopefully I can get those 50 states and get that under my belt. And shout out to my ex-girlfriend who got me into travel. If it wasn't for her, I really would not have even been attempting to do all 50 states. So shout out to her.
Righty. It's great to see so many connections with the Uptown community and with NoMAA tonight. We're gonna give it, hopefully the third time is the charm. Angela, are you able to?
So Angela's mic isn't working, but we could possibly ask her question for her.
Sure. I believe she had worked out the setting. I just want to give her a second or two. If not, I'll read the question.
Yeah, she's unmuted right now, so if you can't hear her, then you should just scroll down for it. Yeah.
Alrighty. So, question is, Tony, my 13-year-old loves photography and takes beautiful photos with their cell phone and now is requesting a camera for Christmas. Any suggestions? They went on a 2-week photography camp for 2 summers ago and learned about contrast, lighting, composition, etc. So it sounds like Angela's teenager has some kind of basics of photography. What would be your advice?
So that's a great question. I get asked that a lot. But yeah, just to go back on that picture right there, that's the final product of, can you show the previous picture of this snapshot? So this is just a snapshot. You can see the difference. That final product was composition, lighting, and post-processing. And that's how you end up with that. So at the end of the day, anybody can do this if you know all the parts. So that's that. As far as Angela's questions, hi Angela, it's nice to hear. I mean, I didn't hear your voice, but it's nice to hear the question. As far as the camera, I'm gonna tell you a quick story about camera. Camera does not matter. It does not matter at all. I was a gear freak for many years, and I spent a lot of money and time on getting equipment. And in the end, it turns out that it's really probably the least important part of your photography. I once went to Greece and ended up in Santorini, and my battery had died on my DSLR. And I thought I could never get good pictures now, because in the end, I don't have my DSLR. I only have my cell phone. And so I went, and I was kind of upset about it, but I said, you know what? I'll take a couple of snapshots with my phone. And it's amazing because I'll be honest with you, some of my best vacation pictures were from my cell phone. And the reason why they were was because I used an iPhone, the latest iPhone at the time, and then I post-processed them. And I remember I mentioned earlier, composition and post-processing are a really important part of creating an image. If I hadn't post-processed them, they would have been nice pictures or nice snapshots. But when I post-processed them, they ended up looking like some of the pictures I took with my DSLR. And that's the day that I realized the camera that you use almost doesn't matter. Now, we can talk about technology, we can talk about DSLRs and how now they're being replaced with mirrorless cameras. They're a lot lighter, a lot smaller. But honestly, and not to talk about brand, but the new phones that are coming out, the iPhone 12 Pro, that phone, I'm looking forward to using that phone and carrying just that phone with me for everyday shots. At the end, the camera really doesn't matter. I use Nikon, you can use Nikon, Canon, Sony, it doesn't matter. In the end, as long as you're willing to use it, and I'll quote somebody, I don't remember who said it, but the best camera is a camera that you have with you. And if it just happens to be a cell phone, then so be it. I mean, there's probably, if you can look up some of the pictures I sent, my final signature pictures, I can show you pictures in there and you wouldn't even know that I took those pictures with a cell phone. There's a picture in San Francisco. So if you scroll through some of these, there are pictures. Let's see if I have them in there. Oh, well, you know what? Maybe I didn't send you them because I had a limit. But there's some San Francisco pictures that I took. The entire trip was my iPhone pictures. I have some Santorini pictures from Greece that, yeah, I didn't send you them because I knew I had a limit. That was actually a DSLR. But anyway, I do have some San Francisco trips, some Greece trips, all taken with my iPhone. There are people who just use iPhones. If you've ever seen the ads on the highways taken with an iPhone, those are actual pictures, and I'm not surprised what you do. So in the end, don't get so hung up on the actual camera, and focus on how you take the picture and the art and love of photography.
Hey, Tony. So I think we're coming to an end. We're going to try to get to 3 questions. The last 3. So the first one is from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, are you with us? This is Elizabeth Tarcevich.
I unmute? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't see the yellow. Anyway, these are wonderful pictures. I was thinking how that would be different as opposed to my question, which I will get to, how it would be different for you to photograph some of my work where I often need very, very detail of my weaving and to give the texture of the weaving. And then I look at the guy that you retented, if you will, and I see that. I'm thinking of it as a teacher. It looks like this is Wikipedia for photos, where people can come in. Can anybody come in and take your photo and change the color or touch it up and then call it theirs? That's like with modeling, where they airbrush everybody. How do you keep the integrity of your own artistic focus?
That's a great question. just to go back to my original point, can you keep scrolling back up? I want to show what I was talking about. Actually, the other way. Sorry. Okay, right there. Keep on going up. No, not that one. If you go to the building picture, and then I'll answer your question in a second. I think it's the other direction. Keep on, keep on. I'll tell you right now. Okay, we're getting close. Okay, stop right there. That picture on the right, which is that one, yeah, top right, that's an iPhone picture. The one next to it is an iPhone picture. That's iPhone. That's an iPhone picture also. So back to my original point, a lot of people don't know that that's a DSLR, but a lot of people don't know the difference, because at this point, once you post-process, you're good. And at the end, it can look good. To answer your question, as far as protecting your artwork and making sure that you know, people aren't stealing it and doing that, it's almost impossible to do that. If you try to protect, once you put your artwork on the internet, that version of what you put up there, you might as well consider it taken. Now, the one they're showing on the screen now is Saint Malo in France. It's a long exposure picture, so the water is a little cloudy, but everything else is pretty sharp. That picture is a stock picture that I have on Adobe Stock. If you wanted to steal it, you can literally do a screen grab and take that picture. But that picture will only be 72 dots per inch. If you wanted to print that picture, it would look horrible if you try to make it big. So there's some protection. My logo on the bottom right with my signature, that can be removed in 2 seconds in Photoshop. You literally, you highlight it and you do a blend and you basically make it, you know, you make it disappear. Everything else looks great for the screen, but if you want to print that, that's only right now on your screen, it's only 72 dots per inch. So that's the only protection you really have. As far as anything else, I mean, you can sue them. You can try to get legal action, but in the end, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Thank you.
Scary. We have a question from Rafael Antonio. Rafael, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I'm so glad.
Escaño!
I'm so glad that Tony sent me this invitation, because I love this guy. You know, we've been knowing each other for many years. He has taken so many pictures of me during political and cultural community events that and I had to take some issue with Ramadan, because he never took me to Cap Cana as he took you. So remember that. But I wanted to ask you, Tony, I had to share with everyone. Tony has taken so many pictures of me throughout maybe 10, 20 years. And he put together a set of pictures that shows multi-face during all these years. And I have that on my Facebook, on my WhatsApp, and everybody is asking me, can they do that? I don't know how to do it. So perhaps now, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to, reveal that secret, it's fine with me. But you know what? If you don't want to do that, but if you could share that with everybody, I would appreciate it. Salud.
Escaño. I look at you. Thank you for the question. And I'm looking at your background. I feel like they're doing a special on you. Is that your artwork in the back?
I have invited you to come here, and you have refused. So I am a collector, big time.
Okay. Well, I love your work. I definitely need to come by. As far as putting your stuff together, it's so there's a program called Lightroom. It's the industry standard for doing post-processing. And again, remember, I said post-processing, you must do it if you want to take your craft seriously. You can't just take a picture and then send it out and hope that it looks good. You have to do work to it afterwards, even if it's minimal, but you got to do something, even if you got to sharpen. And at the end, Lightroom allows you to find, it actually has a face recognition feature where it will find everybody in all your pictures. And at that point, you can identify them, you can name them, and then you can do a search. So it's a database and a post-processing program. So you can catalog your stuff and you can actually work on it. And so what I did for your pictures is it has artificial intelligence and it found you in every picture, and I confirmed that that was really you. And then at the end, I showed every single picture and I took a snapshot of it and I sent it to you. And that's how we did it.
That's good. Thank you. Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you, NoMAA.
Thank you, Rafael. Tony, can you repeat the name of that app, please?
Yeah, so there's a company called Adobe, which is the same company that I do my stock photography in. It's called Adobe Lightroom, and it's a standard. They have I think they have a $9.99 a month deal where you get Lightroom and Photoshop. It's $9.99 per month. And that's what I use.
But if I may add, I think that I'm kind of the first one. I probably the first one in so many millions of billions of people around the world that had gotten this photo from this great friend of mine who took the time to get all the faces throughout those years. It is not a month. It is not a year. It's going from what, maybe 15 years taking pictures in different events. And, you know, I publicly thank you for it because it's a work of art. And I like to share this with everyone because I think I am the only one who has that in my Facebook. I don't have a Twitter, but if I get a Twitter, I will put it in there as well, because that's kind of the great things that you have done on my behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Rafael. Again, it was just my opportunity to take a bunch of pictures and learn. If I showed you the bad pictures, you guys would see the process. You would see how bad they started and gradually how I learned how to make them better. And you're one of the people. I could probably do the same thing for half the people on this Zoom right now. And I probably have dozens of pictures of people on this Zoom right now.
Please don't do it. Salud.
Salud.
Do we have another question?
I think we're coming to an end.
Okay.
So transferring the mic back to Nidia.
Thank you so much, Joanna and Tony, and thanks to all of you. That was so fantastic, so instructive and enlightening, and beautiful and inspirational. And you're really sort of taking us through your process and the behind the scenes, right? You know, just kind of that level of you know, the sort of allowing us to be privy to all of that really made for an extraordinary night. So thank you for doing that. And for those of us who were talking about our children or want to learn for ourselves, I think we all will come away this evening feeling inspired and maybe excited. And maybe that's one of the COVID skills that many of us will pick up after tonight. We may not get to where you are, but certainly we could aspire. So before we go, I like to wrap up the evening with some rapid fire questions. So these are just kind of off the cuff responses, anything that occurs to you. And we'll ask a few tonight. And this one, is sort of directed to someone like you who's traveled so much. Generally, the question is, what is your favorite place in New York City or uptown? But I'm going to allow you to sort of open up to the world that you've experienced. Can you even name a favorite place or maybe a local place? What is that place for you that just continually occupies your mind or your heart, or share with us?
Wow, that's a really tough question, especially having traveled a bit in the last few years. It's tough to say a favorite place, but I can tell you Italy was the best food. Cuba was the best mojitos. In Washington Heights, I gotta say 809 has been my staple place where I go when I want to just relax and feel at home. So there's a lot of places. Morocco has probably the best color. Greece was if you like blue, you go to Greece. So there's so many places, but definitely Italy is the best food. Cuba is the best mojito, and 809 is my home in Inwood.
Oh, I love that answer. That's so great. And that seems perfectly reflective of you and your work and your experiences to sort of have that many different answers to that question. Okay, so here's another tough one. I'm giving you some tough ones tonight. Given your background and given your experiences and all of your interests, what would the title of your biography be? Or your autobiography?
Wow. That is tough, man. That is really tough. I would say quickly, before I opened up my store, I was ready to do it. The franchise person said, "Hey, listen, you can lose all your money." And I thought, "Oh my God, I don't want to do this. I worked too hard to get where I'm at. I'm not going to open up that first store in Inwood. So this may not work out." So I went out on a date, and I ended up in a Chinese restaurant. I had lunch, and in the end, we had fortune cookies. I let her take her cookie, and I took mine. My fortune cookie said, "Don't be afraid to take that big step."
Oh, wow.
And because of that, I opened up my first store in Inwood. So maybe it would be called "Don't Be Afraid to Take That Big Step."
Oh, I love that. That's perfect. You're good at these. And you're good.
What was that?
You're good at these. Okay. All right. So here's, and we've sort of affectionately named this the Liz Ritter question. So you have a dinner party. You get 3 guests, dead or alive. Who are they, and what are you feeding them?
Oh, wow. I think I heard this one in Emmanuel Abreu's
That's
thing.
some really
So,
good answers.
yeah, shout out to him for taking that last picture in my video. So I would probably almost definitely include Barack Obama. To make it interesting, I would probably invite Juno Diaz. And to keep it somewhat local, but also national and worldwide, I would probably invite Lin-Manuel Miranda. As far as food, that would be an interesting dinner. And as far as food, we gotta have, I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican, so we gotta have a little bit of both. We would probably have some tostones, rice and beans, and some other stuff in there. But at the end of the day, it would have to be some Dominican or Puerto Rican cuisine.
That's great. That sounds like a really fascinating evening. And then maybe you can have the fortune cookies at the end for everybody.
I love it. Yes.
All right. So now pretend you have another fortune cookie or come up with your own. What is your motto? And you kind of already said this before, but if you had to think of your sort of words to live by, and you talked here about sort of that fearlessness. What else? What would you say? I mean, you've said so. You've had so many sort of kernels of wisdom tonight. I think for all of us here, if you had to sort of choose one or sort of package one, what might that be?
So, more recently in my life, I've learned one thing, and that is life is short, and you got to live life to the fullest. I've spent my entire life trying to be super responsible, working in corporate America, doing that whole thing, opening up my own business. And at the end, look, I have multiple UPS stores, and I am very fortunate to have the career that I have because it gives me some freedom at this point. It didn't give me freedom in the beginning, but it gives me freedom now. I will easily say that I'm fortunate to have this career, but I'm not passionate about that. I'm passionate about photography. And so the fact is, life is so short. You got to do what you're passionate about, whatever it may be.
That's wonderful. And you're a testament to that. And so we're grateful that you found a way to support your passion and to share your passion with all of us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. This was really fantastic. It was a wonderful evening. Thanks to all of you for joining us and for your questions and your insights and your contributions. And Tony, I would encourage you to go through the chat with so many nice comments and observations that I'm sure you'll want to go through. Thank you all again for being here. Before we close out the evening, I wanted to pass the mic over to Martin, who has some closing statements. We look forward to seeing you all again next Thursday. We'll see what the world looks like then. But you know, life is short, as Tony says, so we'll take each day as it comes. So thank you all. Martin.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Tony, for an absolutely spectacular evening. Your photography is world-class. We're so grateful that you were with us tonight. We encourage everybody to read the Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance newsletter on our website, nomanyc.org, for artist opportunities and upcoming events, including 3 that are powered by NoMAA, presented in partnership with So Humanity and Bread and Yoga. We Can Breathe, Healing for the Uptown Arts Community, a 3-week free video series starting November 8th. Healing and Community Therapeutic Self-Care Workshops, Part 1, live on Zoom, Friday, November 13th. And Sound Waves and Brain Waves. That series continues with Grammy nominee Miguel Zenon and Columbia University neuroscientist Michael Shadlin on Monday, November 23rd at 7:30. And we invite you all to join us next Thursday for Thursdays with NoMAA, when we will have True Titans, an 8-piece bachata merengue band powered by La Quela. That's 7:30. Thursday, November 12th. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.